Hey everyone, I'm Bradford of the Penny Pincher of Personal Finance. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Clean Vehicle Energy Credit, both for new vehicles as well as used vehicles. So that way you have a good understanding of how the credit works, who actually qualifies, and then how much money you can potentially get back in the form of this credit when you go and you buy a clean energy vehicle. Caveat, I'm not going to be giving you a walkthrough on how to actually fill out the paperwork that you need to with the IRS forms to be able to claim this credit. The purpose of this video is just to give you a basic understanding of how the credit works, so that way moving forward, you're able to make the educated decision as to whether or not you would be eligible for the credit when you go and you buy your new or your used electric vehicle. So let's jump over to the IRS website and look at what the details are. So here we have the first one, and this is going to be credits for new vehicles purchased in 2023 or after. So this is going to be the full amount that you might see advertised on like the Tesla's website or with the Ford trucks or things like that, where it's the $7,500. But where is that money actually coming from, and then who can qualify? So starting on here, who qualifies? So the credit is up to $7,500 underneath the IRS code, and it's going to be based on the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, which changed the rules for how these vehicle credits are applied from 2023 to 2032. So first up, to qualify, you must buy it for your own use. You can't be buying it for resale, and then it needs to be primarily used in the United States of America. Second up, deals with financial implications because you can't make too much money to be able to claim the credit. So based on your modified adjusted gross income, if you're curious what that is, check out this video here. But it's going to be $300,000 for married couples filing jointly or a surviving spouse. If you're filing as head of household, it's going to be $225,000. And then for everybody else, which is going to be single or married filing separately, it's going to be $150,000. If you make more than that, you cannot claim this credit. But if you're like the majority of Americans, that their income is less than these amounts, you are going to be eligible to be actually claiming this credit. Now, continuing on, credit amount. How much money can you actually claim for the new vehicle credit? So going on here, so we're just going to kind of skip past this one because if you're watching this video in 2025, this section probably doesn't matter. But if you did buy a vehicle between January 1st and April 17th, 2023, you can go read through this section. But the section we care about, so if you bought your vehicle on April 18th, 2023 and after, which if you're watching this video now, that's probably going to be the case, you can earn $3,750 if the vehicle meets the critical mineral requirements only, $3,750 if the vehicle meets the battery components requirement only. If it meets both, then you're going to be eligible for the total amount of $7,500. Now, if it doesn't meet either, you're not going to be able to get anything at all. Now, how do you actually figure out if the vehicle you're looking at qualifies? You can go right here to fueleconomy.gov, which we're going to cover at the end of the video. So what are the factors that you actually need to understand if the vehicle is going to qualify for this credit? So it's going to have a minimum of 7 kilowatt hours, has to weigh less than 14,000 pounds, has to be made by a qualified manufacturer, undergo final assembly in North America, and then meet the critical mineral and battery component requirements as of April 18th, 2023. So these are things that you don't necessarily need to understand, but you're going to be able to figure out what vehicles currently qualify based on the fueleconomy.gov. Like I said, we're going to cover it at the end of the video. Sales only going to qualify. You have to buy the vehicle new to be able to get the new vehicle credit. And then the sellers are required to report your name and your tax buyer identification number to the IRS for you to be eligible to claim the credit. Now, there are some additional requirements here that I want you to be aware of. So for vans, SUVs, and then trucks, there's going to be a max amount of MSRP of $80,000 and then $55,000 for all other vehicles. Now, says MSRP, it gives a little caveat. That is just the manufacturer's suggested retail price. That does not mean what you are actually paying for the vehicle. So when you go and you look at the window tag, when you go to a dealer's parking lot, it'll have the MSRP amount. And then it'll also say, hey, this is the actual price you have to pay to be able to get the vehicle off the lot. So you need to be paying attention to what is the MSRP, because it has to be below these two thresholds for you to be able to qualify for this credit. And then how to claim the credit, you have to file Form 8936, the clean vehicle credit, with your tax return, and you're going to have to provide your vehicle's VIN. So that basically covers the credit for the new vehicles. Now, jumping over to the used clean vehicle credit, the structure is very similar, but the numbers are going to be different here. So beginning January 1st, 2023, if you buy a vehicle used that's $25,000 or less, you can be eligible for the used vehicle clean tax credit. This credit is going to be 30% of the total sales price up to a maximum credit of $4,000. So continuing on here, who qualifies? So some very similar things. So you have to be an individual who bought the vehicle for use and not for resale. You can't be the original owner, i.e. it's a used vehicle, and cannot be claimed as a dependent on another person's tax return, not have claimed another used clean vehicle credit in the 3 years before the purchase date. So you can't just be going through and turning this over to be able to claim a credit multiple years in a row. You have to have a minimum of 3 years in between those purchases of a used vehicle and claiming the credit. And then the numbers here are basically going to be cut in half for what the new vehicle credit is. So for married filing jointly, it's going to be $150,000. Head of households is going to be $112,500. And then for everybody else, so single or married filing separately, it's going to be $75,000. And then a little bit more leeway here is that this amount is going to be applied for either the year that you buy the vehicle or the year prior, whichever amount is less. So that's going to give you a little bit more flexibility, and that comes from this section right here. So continuing on, qualified vehicles and sales. Again, go to fueleconomy.gov to see if the vehicle qualifies, but there are a couple things extra. So like I said, sale price of $25,000 or less. So it's all dealer imposed costs or fees not required by law. So if there's something required by law, i.e. a sales tax, that doesn't go against your $25,000. But anything else that the dealer is giving you, if they have some sort of transfer fee, that is included in that $25,000 cap. Continue on. Have a model year at least 2 years earlier than the calendar year when you buy it. So they give an example here, but if you're buying it now in 2025, the vehicle has to be at least 2023 or older to be able to qualify for the used vehicle clean tax credit. Again, have a gross vehicle weight less than 14,000 pounds. It has the same 7 kilowatt hour minimum battery supply, and then it has to be primarily used in the United States. Additionally, you have to buy it from a dealer, so you can't be buying it from a private party. It has to be coming from some authorized dealer. And then information that the dealer is going to have to pass on to the IRS is going to be dealer's name, taxpayer ID number, your name, taxpayer ID number, sales date, sales price, maximum credit allowable under this code, vehicle identification number, and then the battery capacity. So what are the price limitations? So a couple things that are coming in this section. So the $25,000 cap, it's not affected by trade-in value. So if you're trading in your previous car and you're getting $12,000, the amount that you get for your trade-in is not going to go against you. It's whatever the standalone price is of the vehicle that you're buying. It has to be less than $25,000. And they also can't be going in here and saying, hey, you're going to be getting $4,000. So that's going to bring what you actually pay below $25,000 so you can still claim the credit. That's not true. So whatever the price of the vehicle is has to be less than $25,000 before taking into account how much money you're actually going to be getting in return for this tax credit. Moving on to the next one, how can you claim the credit? So 2 ways here. You can either apply the clean vehicle tax credit immediately towards the amount that you pay for the vehicle by transferring it to the dealer, and then you get the credit, and then you get that up to $4,000 reduced from the price that you actually pay. Or you can actually claim it when you file your tax return. Just be aware of which way you want to use when you actually go into the purchase. And then, like I said, to transfer the credit at the time of sale, you must buy the vehicle from a registered dealer, primarily for personal use, not for resale. But you have to do that anyway to be able to claim the credit. And then get a time of sale report, just like with the new vehicle. And then again, you're going to be filing Form 8936 with your tax return. And now that we've covered how both the new as well as the used vehicle tax credit works, let's head over to fueleconomy.gov and see what that website looks like. So here we go. So we got the federal tax credits for new plug-in electric vehicles and fuel cell vehicles purchased in 2023 after. So you see right here, you got tax incentives. If we go in here, it's going to give you a little snippet of what we just covered on the actual IRS website. Credits for new vehicles purchased in 2023 or after. Credits for pre-owned vehicles in 2023 or after. And then credits for new vehicles purchased before 2023, because you can still potentially claim them and get that tax credit even if you purchased it a couple years ago. So going back here, we'll look at the new vehicles. So you can come down here and it's going to say, hey, select the date you plan to take delivery. This can also be referred to on the IRS website as the placed in service date. When did you actually receive the vehicle? That's what we care about here. So let's say you bought it new in 2025. You can refine the search if you're looking at specific manufacturer, model, things like that. But you can basically just come in here and it breaks it out by model as well as manufacturer. So looking at Ford, Tesla, obviously the leader in the electric vehicle game, it's going to show you what it is, what the year it was actually made, the vehicle type, credit amount, MSRP limit, based on whether it's a truck or an other vehicle. And then it's going to say eligibility. Hey, for every single one of these, you need to check with the dealer, and they're going to be able to tell you whether or not you qualify, as well as whether or not you can actually take the credit at the time of purchase by transferring it to the dealer, or you're going to be claiming it on your taxes after the fact. So if you're trying to maximize and be able to take advantage of these clean vehicle credits, make sure you come to this website, check it out, and see if the vehicle that you are interested in is actually eligible to be able to claim the credit in the first place. So that covers the basics of how the clean vehicle credits work for both the used as well as the new option. But don't forget, you still actually have to file your taxes. So if you're curious how you can do that completely for free and not have to pay somebody else to actually pay your taxes, check out this video right here. I want to thank you for joining me today. And from your first penny to your first million, we're here to help.